For though we speak of green pastures, the thesis is not rest. He describes death's somber valley, but this poem is not an ode to dying. He will tell of the Lord's forever house, but the theme is not heaven. So why did David write the 23rd Psalm? Well, it was to build our trust in God, to remind us who He is. So he begins by saying, "The Lord is my shepherd." In this psalm, David devotes 115 words to explaining the first two, the Lord. So many words to help us understand so few. I wonder if we were to write our own psalm, how would we begin it? To David, the Lord is a shepherd. How would you fill in the blank? Maybe you see God as a genie in the bottle. Convenient, congenial. You need a parking place, a date, field goal made or missed. All you do is rub the bottle and poof, it's yours. And what's even better, this God goes back into the bottle after he's done. Or maybe you see God as a sweet grandpa. So soft-hearted, so wise, so kind, but very, very old. You know, grandpas are great when they're awake, but they tend to doze off when you need them the most. Or maybe you think of God more like a busy dad. He leaves on Mondays just to come back on Saturdays. He's always on lots of road trips and going to business meetings. He'll show up on Sunday, however, so, clean up and look your best and try to be spiritual. But don't worry, on Mondays you can be yourself again. He'll never know. If you have ever had one of these views of God, then I'm sure you can relate to, the kinds of burdens that these thoughts can cause. You see, a busy dad, he doesn't have time for your questions. A kind grandpa, he's too weak to carry your heavy burdens. And if your God is a genie in a bottle, then you're greater than He is. He comes and goes at your command. A God who looks nice, but actually does little. That reminds me of a computer bag I purchased some years ago. Though I'd like to fault the salesman, I can't. The purchase was my decision. But you know what? He certainly made it easy. I didn't need a new bag. The one I had was just fine. Scarred and scratched, but it was doing its purpose. But this new one, to use the words of the college-age boy at the store, it was really fine. Loaded with all kinds of features, copper covers on the corners, smooth leather from Spain, and most of all, it had an Italian name near the front. The salesman gave his line and handed me the bag, and I bought them both. So I left the store with a bag that I've maybe used twice. What was I thinking? Because it carries so little. My old bag didn't have copper-covered corners, but it had a belly like a beluga. But this one, it reminds me of a high-fashion model, slim, stiff, and tight-lipped. My computer and a ballpoint pen, and this bag is stuff. It looks nice, but it doesn't do anything. Is that the kind of God you want? Is that the kind of God we have? David's answer is a resounding no. You want to know who God really is? Then read this. And he writes the name Yahweh. Yahweh is my shepherd. Though that name is foreign to us, the name was rich to David. So rich, in fact, that David chose Yahweh over all the other titles attributed to God in the Bible, like El Shaddai, which means God Almighty, or El Elyon, which means God Most High, and El Olam, which means God Everlasting. I mean, all these titles for God were at David's disposal. But when he considered all of his options, he chose this one, Yahweh. Why? Because Yahweh is God's name. You can call me a preacher, a father, a wannabe soccer player, and these will all be accurate descriptions, but they aren't my name. I might call you dad, mom, doctor, or student, and those terms might describe you, but they aren't your name. If you want to call me my name, you say Greg. And if I want to call God by his name, then I say Yahweh. When was the last time you called God by his name? Even if it's been a while, you can be sure that he knows yours. Now, Moses was the first to learn this name. 7 centuries before David, this 80-year-old shepherd was tending sheep when a bush began to blaze and his life began to change. Moses was told to return to Egypt and rescue the enslaved Hebrews. Now he rose more excuses than a kid does at bedtime, but God trumped each one. So finally, Moses asked God, "When I go to the Israelites, I will say to them, 'The God of your fathers have sent me to you.' But what if the people say, 'What is his name?' What should I tell them?" Then God answered to Moses and said, "I am who I am. When you go to the people of Israel, tell them, 'I am sent me to you.'" Now the curious thing is, the Israelites never asked Moses that question. They never asked him what God's name was. And God would know that. He could have very well told Moses, "Well, don't concern yourself about that. They're not going to ask you." But God shared his name with Moses. Oh, how he longs for us to know him. Now, God never gives a definition to the meaning of that name, Yahweh. And Moses never asked. And many scholars, well, they wish he had, for the study of the name has raised some real healthy discussions. So the name Yahweh, it's been determined to be linked to the Hebrew verb hava, which is to be. It seems that Yahweh's closest rendering is I am. I am? When we say I am, we always add another word to it. I am happy. I am sad. I am strong. I am Greg. God, however, simply states, I am. You are what? We want to ask. I am, he replies. God needs no descriptive word because he never changes. God is what he is. He is what he has always been. His immutability motivated the psalmist to declare, "But thou art the same." The writer is saying, you are the one who is. You never change. I am, not I was, nor I will be, but simply I am. Yahweh is the unchanging God. Well, 1,500 years after this conversation with Moses, Jesus came along and said some rather stunning words here in the Gospel of John. He said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone keeps my word, he will never see death." And the Jews said to him, "Now we know that you have a demon. Abraham died, and the prophets also, And you say, if anyone keeps my word, he will never taste of death? Surely you're not greater than our father Abraham, who died. The prophets died also. Whom do you make yourself out to be? And Jesus answered, your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. So the Jews said to him, you are not yet 50 years old, and have you seen Abraham? And Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was born, I am. You see, uniquely in the Gospel of John, the author records a number of occasions where Jesus refers to himself simply as I am. Actually, in the chapter we were just reading, 3 times Jesus refers to himself as I am. In verses 24, 28, and again in 58. So he's taking on the very name of God. Are you confident that this is what he was doing? Maybe it's just one of those funny nuances that happen when they translate the Bible from Greek to English. Well, look at the Jews' reactions after his final words when he said, I am. Therefore, they picked up stones to throw at him. But Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple. You see, we know that they understood that Jesus, in saying I am, was declaring himself to be God in human flesh. He was revealing to men who he is. Now, if we jump ahead to John 17, the night before Jesus was crucified, we see that him there in the garden praying to his Father. And he says the following, beginning in verse 6. Notice this, and I have made your name known to them and will make it known so that the love with which you loved me may be in them and I in them. Okay, I get it, Greg, but still, I am who? I am what? I mean, I am, that sounds more like a riddle than a name. I am what? Well, the answer is, I am whatever you need. See, back in Exodus, God was saying to Moses, Mo, your task is huge, and I want you to know who I am because I promised to be with you, and I will be whatever you need. And God is saying to you and me, what is your need today? Are you hungry? Is there a sense of lack of satisfaction in your life? You feel that you're lacking purpose. You're lacking fulfillment in this life. That there is an emptiness deep down within you, in your soul, that you're hungry for something else, for something more, to something greater, something more permanent. In John 6:35, Jesus says, I am the bread of life, the one that can fill you and sustain you and satisfy you. Do you feel that you're in the dark? That you don't know what direction you're going or what direction you should go in, what decision to make, where to turn? Are you just tired of feeling that you are a ship just caught in the current and that you have no direction? Well, Jesus said in John 8:12, I am the light of the world. That's not something he gives, it's who he is. Not something he provides, it's who he is personally. He says, I am the light. So if you're with me, if you take me and walk with me, I will be that light for your life. Maybe you're struggling with feelings of loneliness, that you don't feel that anybody cares about you, that nobody's interested in you, and that nobody values you. Well, in John 10:11 through 14, Jesus says, I am the good shepherd who gives his life for the sheep. He says, I value you. I love you. You're important, and I'm concerned about you. Do you feel vulnerable, insecure, filled with all kinds of fears and anxieties? Jesus says again in John 10, verses 7 through 9, I am the door. I'm the one that keeps you safe. I protect you. I keep you secure. And nobody can get to you unless they go through me first. Feeling lost, without direction or purpose or meaning in life, John 14:3, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. You feeling weak, tired, frustrated of doing it all on your own, and you just feel like I can't keep it up. I feel so drained, so tired. Jesus says in John 15, I am the vine. You are the branches. And the vine is what holds the branches up and gives nourishment to the branches. And that's what I'll do for you if you abide in me. Gang, this is really important stuff. Jesus came and declared, I am. Just as God in Exodus 3 said, this is my name forever, I am. For many years, I didn't understand this. I thought Jesus was the great I give, not the great I am. That he would give me bread, give me deliverance, give me strength, give me healing. And that was the problem that the multitude that Jesus was talking to in John 6 had. See, they came to Jesus because they wanted something from Jesus. And they didn't realize that what they needed was Jesus. Look, verse 26. And Jesus answered and said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, you seek me not because you saw signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were filled. Then they said to him, Lord, always give us this bread. And Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst. Jesus would have us know tonight, right here, those who say, I need healing, or I need companionship, I need this or that. That it's not something that you need, but someone. Jesus says, I am the bread. You think you need bread? He says, but I am the one who really fills. I need deliverance. No, he says, I'm the one that delivers. It's not what I give, it's who I am. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Okay, that sounds all great and stuff, but I still need money to pay my rent. I still need to be healed of this sickness that I have. I still need to be freed of this fear or that. But could it be that this need that you are dealing with is God's way to show you, to draw you to himself, so that he can meet your greatest need? Many times people come to church because they're seeking something from Jesus and not seeking Jesus. You know what? You can have the home of your dreams, the career you've always wanted, health, money, a spouse, and still feel a void in your heart and still feel miserable. Because what you need the most is a personal relationship with your shepherd. David declares, the Lord is my shepherd. Therefore, I shall not want.